Hello, everybody. Looks like we are live. Okay, baby. Let us watch this video. Dude, still can't figure out how to get my live chat to pop up. So that's great. No, that's not it. Okay, turn on. Oh well. Anyways, guys, I'm still getting used to live streaming, but needless to say, there's a new video here by some ordinary gamers here, and I want to watch it. And yeah. So yeah, new video by some ordinary gamers. Let's see what he has to say. He's saying that the AI bubble has started to pop. So let's see what's going on in the world of tech today.
Guys and gals, me Mudahar, and we have some pretty good news this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for the last 2 weeks, I've been talking about this AI bubble popping. And it used to be a year ago that, if I talked about this kind of stuff, there would be a bunch of comments going, oh, there is no bubble, Muda. Now I'm pretty sure everybody can understand that there is, in fact, a actual serious bubble that needs to pop, just for the benefit of...
Bro, the people that said that the AI bubble wasn't going to pop were all like the AI bros, man. These are the same people, by the way, that... Wait, let's make that more central. These are the same people that bought NFTs of apes, and they thought they'd become millionaires in doing so. By the way, those are all worth like $0 now. So these are the bros. These are the bros that hate on you for for not liking AI. And what's funny is they're also the same bros that the reason they hate you is because you were one of the people that had artistic talent in the past. Okay, so you're affected by this. You used to have something that was valuable to society. But the AI bros, they love AI because they were never good at any art. They never had any skills that had to do with arts. And these are the same type of people that wouldn't pay artists that they would commission. These are the same type of people that would get exposed for not paying creators. They see people that create and make art and do work in this field as just expendable. They're the corporation bros, man. They're the people that are the type of people that are the top of corporations that don't see art as any form of humanity. They see art as a means to making money. And they see people that enjoy art as... they see that as a way to manipulate people into making money. They don't see art as something that was extremely important all throughout history, that has to do with the human soul, that has to do with the Renaissance. They don't see it as that at all. They see people enjoying art and they think, how can we use this art to drive some sales? That's the only way that they think about art. They don't care about art. So these are the type of people that we're saying, oh, the AI bubble will never pop, bro. And listen, I'm not going to necessarily say, let me move this real quick. I'm not going to necessarily say that I know if the AI bubble is going to pop or not. Okay? To be fair, I don't. But at the same time, bro. At the same time, like, I don't even know.
All of us people that enjoy tech, but generally speaking, something as overvalued as this technology needs a bit of correction, especially since it's kind of been ruining a lot of people's shit. It's kind of been ruining everything else. I talked about the Internet Archive literally a day ago. And to me, stuff like that is serious. I don't like it when big AI companies come in and ruin shit around me. So why am I talking about this bubble pop?
These are the same companies that benefited from all of the Internet Archives, that enthusiasts and genuinely people that care about humanity made. Okay, these are people, a lot of these people that make these archive sites, for example, Anna's Archive, they're practically personal projects. Okay, they don't make a lot of money from this. Now, sometimes they get greedy and sometimes they do something stupid. For example, Anna's Archive decided that they wanted to scrape all of Spotify. I have no idea why Anna's Archive thought that was a good idea. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, come on, bro. That doesn't make sense. So they flew too close to the sun. But the point is, most people that make these archive websites, they have their own servers a lot of the times. They have to pay server fees. They have to pay for a lot of the infrastructure. Okay, it's not, it's not something simple.
And again, well, it just keeps accelerating. Now, I consider this to be really, really good news because, again, for this bubble to pop, yeah, sure, it means, like, economically things do get rough because fucking everyone and their grandmother, unfortunately, with or without their consent, have kind of invested into this stuff. To the point where, when it pops, the damages, at least from what I understand economically, will probably resemble that of, like, 2008, okay? It's gonna be rough for a little bit. But like a lot of rough points in life, you grit your teeth, you bear through the pain, and usually when you come out the other side of the tunnel, things are a lot better.
I'm surprised he said when it pops. Now, yeah, this is quite a radical stance for a relative kind of, this guy's kind of in the middle of the AI argument, And listen, I don't try to demonize AI or anything. I can find AI useful at times, and AI is cool, especially machine learning applications, uses for protein folding, material science. I find a lot of AI very useful and good for humanity. I think AI will probably solve cancer or cure cancer. Potentially. I think at least they'll use tools, machine learning algorithms, predictive science. I don't know if that's the right word, but they're going to use that to find something essential to cure cancer and other stuff. My point, though, and I think what he's trying to say too, is that the AI bubble we're talking about is not, we're not saying that AI is not useful and that it won't be useful in the future. We're not saying that AI is going to stop. What we're saying is that AI is completely, grossly overvalued, and that the business models are simply not sustainable for AI. Now, will the government subsidize it? Like, who knows? But at the end of the day, considering how much it costs to run something like Claude or some of their newest models, even some of them are the newest Claude model that hasn't been released because it's so dangerous. Apparently, is I forgot what it's called, but that can cost upwards of $40,000 within like an hour of use for AI server fees, which is just crazy. But the point is, if you look at OpenAI, their business models really aren't working, dude. Sona AI is not working. Sona AI is being closed, and the reason for that is because it's not freaking profitable. So it's not exactly easy to make these companies profitable, at least so far. AI costs a lot of money.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, to look at why this has been crashing down, one of the things that has sort of been popped up, and, you probably heard headlines like Anthropic, the company that makes Claude and that super spooky Mythos. Yeah, they were changing pricing to their bills when they were billing firms, basically companies, based on AI use, right? So basically, the way that apparently this pricing has sort of changed, again, if you don't want to pay for this kind of article and kind of read about it, has basically been a point where it's kind of resembling that of what happened like 10 days ago. When Claude, the Claude is the product, Anthropic is the company, basically said that when you're using things like third-party harnesses or things like agents, you're going to have to end up paying for them as you go. So much like filling up your car at the gas station, in order to use the AI for genuinely maybe the only useful thing that it exists, in my opinion, Instead of paying for those $20 plans that, let's be honest, are basically subsidized to begin with, subsidized meaning that you pay $20 to use access to some of their highest end models, but in reality, the higher of a power user you are, which, depending on who you are, you're actually getting a great deal.
That is a good point, right? Like, the thing about AI and a lot of the boom we've seen, and I think something the AI bros, tech bros, love, is that it is a good deal. It really is a good deal. I mean, basically, when you use AI, man, what am I? Well, whatever. When you use LLMs, when you use things like Claude, you are most likely getting far more value out of it than your subscription cost. Like he said, it's subsidized. And part of me looks at Grok, which is relatively free, and I look at the way that you can generate so many images per day, so many videos per day, and I genuinely think, how the frick are they staying afloat? How does Grok offer all these free services? I mean, it's a lot of compute power, like genuinely a lot of compute power. But yeah, let's continue what he said.
Paying $20, and the company is actually losing money on you. Now, this is something that obviously, you know, it's not unknown. I've been talking about artificial intelligence for years, ever since the technology developed. And in a lot of my videos, I show you local artificial intelligence. And I've shown you that even on an RTX 4090, which is not a cheap card, the amount of models that you can run, well, you can only go so far in the model's intelligence. And obviously the capability and the processing power involved in that model, yeah, it burns through wattage. My GPU uses more resources to run a LLM than honestly running a lot of games with ray tracing, path tracing, and whatnot. It maxes out. It reaches that red line.
One thing that is incredibly fascinating about the human brain is that the human brain could be thought of as a AI general intelligence. And what's incredible is obviously it's better than in a total scale, right? A overarching scale. It's better than, you know, any AI model there is available right now. And the thing that's incredible, though, is the amount of processing the human brain can do with such little wattage. That is really the part about the human brain that's so incredible. It's so efficient. I mean, it's thousands of times more efficient than like an M1 chip, right? Than an ARM processor. It's thousands of times more efficient than any processor we've ever seen. I just find that incredible. I also think it's incredible that human DNA stores so much information in such a small amount of space. I could look up some statistics on it, but do some research into that. You probably already know, but it's unbelievable, man. It's like, let's see, there's petabytes, then exabytes. I'd say maybe it's like exabytes of information probably in this small DNA strand. But yeah, man, the human brain's incredible. Don't let anybody tell you differently.
And you can imagine what happens in a data center where companies like Anthropic pay tens of thousands of dollars for GPUs that cost $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, all plugged up in these arrays, serving millions of people around the fucking world. Those costs add up. The ability to run those cards, that cost adds up. And obviously, cards, they do tend to break after some serious use. So switching out a $30,000 card for another card, these are all prices that I'm sure a lot of these AI companies have put into their heads. And it's one of the reasons that if you've been following things like Claude, for instance, right? And by the way, I'm not an anti-Anthropic guy. I know that I use them as sort of an example, but I genuinely think they're actually one of the best frontier...
I'm sorry, bro. I just find it so funny how he's making a video in the dark like this, dude. Look how dark he is, dude. He looks like such a cave dweller, bro. Not him, but like him he's like, he looks like he's in a basement.
Meaning like closed source companies out there. I think they're genuinely better than ChatGPT. I think they're genuinely fucking better than Google. I think they're better than Grok.
Dude looks like Smeagol, bro. Not him. I'm not saying he looks like Smeagol. I'm just saying dude's like in his room is so dark is what I'm trying to say.
That said, there are limitations to this tech. So if you look carefully, a lot of people on Anthropic subreddit have been bitching about the fact that their usages are getting basically cut in half. You know, people are running through their tokens like crazy. And of course, the actual quality of said model is basically dropping. So in some cases, the ability for it to not hallucinate, well, that seems to have been going down all the way to number 10, below some of its contemporaries. So this is not a good situation, okay? It basically means that behind the scenes, you know, a lot of people have kind of theorized that Anthropic has sort of lobotomized the model. Whether that be to save it money, saving money is the key important thing. Now, obviously, this stuff is growing rapidly. You know, for anybody that's following companies like this, they're releasing applications that allow you to plug your computer to their AI so that the AI can control your computer. Now, I think that's a scary world to live in. I think anybody promoting, even if it's under your surveillance, is never a good thing. And that goes for any company, whether it be an American one or a Chinese one. Always be careful of who the fuck is allowed to pilfer around your system. So again, private companies are integrating all this stuff to their employees and yada, yada, yada. So the scale is going through the roof. You know, imagine if there's 100 people using your technology. You know, it's definitely difficult to go from 100 people to 1,000 people, to 10,000 people, to 100,000 people. And then it sucks even hard when some of those individuals may in fact be fucking power users. So, you know, literally like months ago, you had the...
Dude... Let's be honest, consumers of AI probably are the worst possible demographic to be customers. Like, these are people that are obsessed with, and I'm not saying it's bad, okay? But we know what type of people they are. They're obsessed with output, bro. They're obsessed with efficiency. They're going to use, let's be honest, the average AI, like, subscriber is like obsessed with like getting the maximum efficiency and output from their whole like workflow, right? And that's why they're using AI agents and stuff. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's kind of funny that this makes up the majority of the consumer base of most of these AI companies. And it makes it so that you don't really get these... You don't get the subscription model where the lowest tier essentially pays for the highest tier of the same subscription, if that makes sense. So, you know, there's some subscriptions where people pay for the subscription and maybe they just forgot that they're paying for it, right? Or maybe they just really use it a couple times a month. They don't really care. And so these people, by not taking a lot of the cost, usually pay for the other people who get the most out of their subscription in this type of model, right? But my point is, most of the consumers of AI, especially for something like Claude or I forgot what the other one's called. It's really good at... Anyways, you know, they're going to be getting the most out of it.
The CEO of Anthropic going, if my revenue is not 1 trillion, if it's even 800 billion, there's no force on Earth, there's no hedge on Earth that could stop me from going bankrupt if I buy that much compute. Even though a part of my brain wonders if it's going to keep growing 10x, I can't buy $1 trillion a year of compute in 2027. If I'm just off by a year in that rate of growth, or if the growth rate is 5 times a year instead of 10x a year, then you go bankrupt. Basically, these guys rely on an insane level of growth that, unfortunately, I think is kind of hitting that fucking peak, okay? Now, look, there's a lot of people...
Yeah, this is a fool's errand, in my opinion. This whole business model is a fool's errand. Because... instead of making AI processing more efficient, which is definitely possible. I mean, in my opinion, if they wanted to improve AI, they would need to they need to go back to the basics and find, they need to find primal variants of machine learning and basically go in a completely different direction. They need to, it's like with the M1 chips, with ARM processing, right? You need to make it a more efficient chip. So you have to back up each level until you get to the point where you can reimagine the technology in the way that fits your requirements. In this case, the AI needs to be more efficient, right? And it needs to be more efficient because if we keep going this way, then all we're going to be doing is building a disgusting amount of data centers at an exponential rate, which it just seems ridiculous to me. AI processing should not take this much wattage. And simply put, look at the human brain. The human brain takes like 35 watts of power, and yet it can compute incredible things. And I think that AI research, they need to back up the same way that Apple did, to the point where they go, oh, wait a minute, this whole architecture is the wrong direction. We need to do it differently. We need to, change the whole architecture, change the whole approach, change the whole angle, think out of the box. That's just my opinion. Because this is not sustainable to keep building more and more data centers and also destroying the environment while doing so at an exponential rate. This is just, I don't know anybody thinks that this is sustainable at all.
That love fucking shit like AI. A lot of internet tech influencers peddle this stuff like it's crack cocaine. But the reality of it is that, look, I'm not somebody that, is getting paid by any of these companies. I'm not getting paid to even shit on these companies. I'm somebody that uses local AIs all the time in my videos just as a cool little thing to showcase as a technology that is private, self-hosted, yada, yada, yada. But I'll always be there to tell you that it is expensive. It is absolutely a technology that cannot, in my opinion, at least scale to the levels that...
Yeah, it can't scale in this architecture. So one example that I could give you is, first of all, I have a thesis. My thesis is that AI is very archaic. Machine learning is relatively archaic. And I say that because it's not efficient. And we know from biology itself that it's possible to process data in the way that AI does in a far more efficient way. It's physically possible. Now, what I would say that this is like the first computer. The first computer that was made, the early computers, they took up the size of a room. I almost feel like, and this isn't a direct comparison, but basically what I'm trying to say is it's like if they kept building more and more of these computers taking up more space instead of making it more efficient, instead of making it better. Now, it is better, but I don't understand why we're brute forcing one single method of processing power. Because once you see AI for what it is, you realize that it's really just like a complicated prediction algorithm. It's just like an LLM predicts the next word after the next word, right? And it makes sense. This is an output based on the input and the calibration of the weights. But it's not, what's the word? It's not, the weights don't constantly change as it learns. At least I don't think, this is kind of hard to explain, but anyways, let's continue.
But a lot of these guys are kind of billing you. And look, I like companies like Anthropic. While companies like ChatGPT or OpenAI have backed actual bills, according to this write-up by Wired, where they want to limit things like AI-enabled mass deaths or whatever. You know, situations where people, unfortunately, by interacting with an LLM, end up killing people around them because they go into actual AI psychosis. You got companies like Anthropic that do tend to push back against that. I have a lot of respect for companies that realize they have a technology and maybe they don't want to contribute that technology to really unethical means. But that being said, it doesn't ignore the reality of how expensive this shit is. So, for instance, this is a site called OpenRouter, and some of you who use AI may know what OpenRouter necessarily is. It's a place where you can basically get one API key, and you can get access to a whole slew of models. Some of these are open source, some of these are from private companies like Anthropic, some of them are from companies like ZAI from China, and yada yada yada. But if you look carefully, one of the things that you should always be understanding of is how expensive shit can be. So for instance, let's say that you're somebody that wants to use the best programming model that exists. Well, you're probably using something like Google's Gemini 3.1. That costs $2 per million input tokens, and then $12 for the output token. So basically, all the words that are printed on your screen, you're paying $12 for a million tokens worth of that shit. So these bills, depending on how much you use this AI shit, do tend to fucking rack up, especially if you're going by the usage, but when you're paying per use. Of course, if you look at companies like Anthropic, you can see that for $5 per million input tokens, you're also paying $25 for the million output tokens. So it gets fucking expensive, you know? It's like going to a gas station, filling up gas, you know, the cheap stuff, the what is it, like the E85 octane or whatever, the really shit, the dirt gas, that stuff, you know, costs you, I don't know, like what is it today, like a $1.70 a liter? But if you pay for the premium, super expensive gas, you know, for the nicer cars and whatnot, or just because if you want to pay for some nice gas for your car, you're looking at like what, $2.30? Insanely upcharge. You're paying way more for the higher grade shit. And of course, this is the
I don't really see why that's a big deal. I think this is only a big deal in the context of people being used to AI services where them using it and them using the subscription is only a subsidized payment, where the business is actually losing money from them using it. So I think the same thing about video games. A lot of people are saying video games are getting so expensive. I don't really understand it. Like if you adjust the cost of video games all throughout history for inflation, it was a lot of money. Video games used to be a lot of money, and they've actually gone down in price. So to be completely honest with you, I don't understand the argument that video games are getting too expensive. If anything, if they increased the price, they would just get to the point in which video games historically costed in the past. And I'm not saying I want video games to be more expensive. Like, I'm not saying that. But at the same time, like, if you put that context in your brain, then you'll start to see that, like, your dad or your grandpa, well, I don't think anyone's grandpa bought video games, but, you know, your dad, well, actually, maybe it is some grandpas, but they paid the equivalent of like $150 for some video games back then. So my point with this AI, though, is considering what you're getting with the best coding large language model, the best coding model there is. Like, if you compared that to the cost of a actual developer of about the same skill level, it's a lot cheaper. So again, this is another time when I just don't understand what the AI bros are talking about. Oh, it's so expensive. It's like, dude, if you hired a developer, it would cost you like $100 an hour at least. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
Chinese stuff, which I don't want to denigrate the actual quality of this. It's definitely not as good, but you can see why some people who are on a stricter budget, especially people that are using things like agents like Hermes, they might choose to pay, like 5, 10, 15 bucks a month, but they're also paying like less than $1 per input and less than $3 for a million output. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff that you're looking at. And obviously, look, for a lot of people, AI stuff is something where I think it's one thing because this technology is built off of so much stolen information, but we're at a point where we're actually like selling information per access to individuals. And the reason why I talk about this AI bubble kind of crashing and popping is that, I've been following the news very carefully. I've been seeing how a lot of these models have sort of become more lobotomized as time goes on. Generally, they're always at...
Who would have thought that in a world where after the year 2023, endless amounts of AI slop garbage were pumped into the internet, that the very source of good training data, which it's almost as if a human brain creates the best data to train from because it's superior to any AI model there is at the moment. It's almost as if pumping the internet, the source of the data to train the model, with more AI garbage and effectively destroying the, tainting the lake of fresh water, if you will. It's almost as if it all goes to shit. Isn't that crazy?
Kind of a race between each other. But, ever since I saw things like Claude Mythos, which genuinely does seem like really cool stuff, even though I may consider it to be just a bit of marketing fluff, there is, again, a cost attributed to that. Something that...
Real quick. Claude Mythos, finding bugs in things like Linux, that was crazy. I'm not going to lie. That was sobering. I actually find that pretty incredible that it could not only find the bug, but also write software to exploit the bug in the software. Something like legacy programs, bro. Crazy.
Powerful, something that computationally expensive, can only really be used not by people that are trusted in cybersecurity, but by people that, are probably going to use it, appropriately. Probably are people that when they spend $20,000 on tokens, those tokens will be used effectively. And generally speaking, it's not something you can just give out to everyone to have complete carte blanche access, because you probably don't have the resources to just easily scale that up for tons of people to just come in, even if they are actual paying customers. Because if people really realize the actual fucking cost for AI, like if they actually really did the math, they would realize that this whole market is, either these AI companies have to lobotomize their shit to the point where it's becoming economically viable for them to deliver it at these rates that they currently are, or they just raise them fucking through the roof. It's not uncommon in the tech field for companies...
Yeah, exactly, man. It's simple math. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science. The cost of running AI is a certain price. The cost of these models are a certain price. The tokens are a certain price. And oftentimes they're being generous, honestly. And you're not paying for it. By using 80% of the models out nowadays, you're not paying the actual cost. And by the way, that's a good argument to use AI, okay? I'm not necessarily not like against AI, right? I guess I am in some ways, but listen, it is a good deal right now to use AI. It really is, especially Grok. Grok is free, bro. You can generate videos for free, like 10, 20 a day. Like what? That's actually crazy if you think about it.
Like Netflix, for instance, when they first launched to price themselves underneath everyone, because they had every investor's dollar played around, and they could just say, hey, we'll charge you like $10 a month. Come in and stream all the movies you want. But obviously, as the years pass and the user base grows, they're like, fuck it. Let's just up the price $1 each year, 12, It goes from like $10 a month to 12 to 13 to 15 to 16, all the way to like $21 a month. 100% increase over it initially started.
What if the end game of AI, at least in the near future, is that they increase it to the price in which it'd be profitable, which is not affordable for most people, and it becomes something where you think, would I rather spend $100 to write this essay for my college class? Or would I rather just use my brain and do it for free? I think this might be the end game. This might be the AI bubble, the way that it pops, is that people just think, I'd rather just do this with my own AI for free.
And again, you might even realize that you may get less out of it. Because at that point, the market base has grown so much, they have become so solidified that now they can charge whatever the fuck they want. That's kind of the similar play that you're seeing over here.
And don't forget about all of the people that are, dude, all the AI bros are fully integrating agentic AI into every single process imaginable for their business. Every single back end thing you can think of, every automation. Like, bro, I guess what's funny is, like, imagine you build all of this infrastructure while it's cheap. And then one day they're like, yeah, in order for you to keep your business that you've built this whole infrastructure, yeah, it's going to be $1,000 a month. Now, I'm not saying they'll do that, but I mean, they could, right? And it's like, if you build all this infrastructure, or you even rely on the AI, you fired all of your real human employees. It's like, okay, I guess I have to pay this. And it might end up costing something similar to paying the employees, bro.
But there are also other key issues, right? For a lot of these companies, expanding is like the most important fucking thing imaginable. And one of the things that has sort of been happening for anybody that hasn't been noticing is that when it comes to the US alone, about half of the data centers that were supposed to start this year actually turns out that those data centers have either been delayed or in some cases actually been fucking canceled.
Good.
Now, of course, the reality of a lot of this is that beyond just the cost for the parts, beyond just convincing the community to build this kind of shit, there have been an issue regarding the actual electricity required to run some of these data centers as well, too. And in some cases, you've got companies like Microsoft that have gone out of their way, and we've looked at this, right? Where Microsoft has come out and said, hey, if we open up a data center near you, we promise that your costs won't go up. But they fucking will, because obviously to then build the infrastructure for the electricity, that cost has to be paid by somebody. And again, if you trust Microsoft to 100% foot the bill for the shit that they're building, I'd like to sell you a bridge currently in my possession. And again, a lot of these things.
Yeah, man. AI data centers are just absolute. They're like leeches, man. Leeches on society. They're just. They literally are leeches financially. They make deals with the power companies or the grid to get subsidized. Whatever, they get cheaper costs, better rates, and who pays for it? It's subsidized by you, the taxpayer, bro. Meanwhile, the companies, the corporations that are behind all of this, they don't even pay taxes, bro. But you, dude, the hardworking motherfucker, you got to pay extra for your electricity so that we can make Fruit Love Island, bro.
I think the community has started to catch up to, because I think for a lot of people, they realize, hey, this is a data center. It's moving into my neighborhood. My neighborhood, which I love the nature of. I love my people. All of a sudden, this place is coming in, making things more expensive for the average person.
Not to mention, data centers are just so ugly and disgusting, bro. They're just disgusting. I hate them. I just hate the way they look. I hate the noise they make. I hate the fact that they use so much electricity to make garbage, to fuel these, like this corporate goy slop that literally just steals from all of us, if you think about it. Like, the corporations only make themselves richer. That's all the AI is being used for, bro. And yeah, there are people that are using AI. Like, I'm happy for them, but I don't like data centers at all. I hate them, bro. They're just ugly. Like, it's like an Amazon warehouse. You know the feeling you get when an Amazon warehouse moves into your town? It's just like looking at that dystopian piece of crap over there. It's like so dystopian and disgusting. It's like, it feels like the moment when you're watching The Matrix, you see Neo wake up in his pod, and you see all that nasty, disgusting robot, tech dystopia infrastructure. It's just like, it's repulsive. It's just repulsive, bro. That's the same feeling I get when I see an Amazon warehouse. I used to do DoorDash deliveries, and I would have to go to the Amazon warehouse. And I mean, that shit just like, have you ever seen the movie Meet the Robinsons? Do you remember when Goob, the bad guy, the bowler hat man, he ended up being his future? And you got to see how the world would be if it was like all super dystopian and dark and just this tech nightmare. And that's the feeling I get. Yeah, that's the feeling I get when I see one of those. Bro.
And of course, ultimately, the end, it's not really providing much for my community, as opposed to the stock value of something like Microsoft or NVIDIA or fucking Anthropic or whoever owns the fucking data center, right?
How about we just tax them? I'm just saying. What if we just tax them? What if they had to pay a fee? What if they had to pay a toll to make the world a worse place, to make your neighborhood a worse place? I mean, sadly, they would probably make a backdoor deal with the grid and make you pay for it, but I don't know, it's a nice idea.
So it really is a fucked situation. In a lot of cases, too, you've got a scenario where current wars right now, so the war in Iran, which nobody knows when that's going to fucking end, we're getting to a point where forget the gas prices going up. For a lot of these tech guys, they're watching things like helium go up, which helium is very important when it comes to making semiconductor chips, when it comes to, medical equipment, when it comes to a lot of important things in our day-to-day fucking life. So in a lot of ways, the AI bubble is popping incredibly hard. And, I would say that the pop has already happened. I think the reality is kind of settling in for a lot of these companies that, that growth they had in the beginning is sort of limiting. Look, just this year alone, one of the greatest news regarding things like Sora, because, for anybody that doesn't remember, OpenAI made this TikTok style app where you could just go in, generate all the videos you wanted, and they wanted to make it a social media service. Nobody was going to stick around because nobody enjoys AI generated shit. People enjoy real human beings and a real fucking personality.
God, bro.
Unfortunately.
Dude, what type of person did they actually think? Dude, was there anyone that actually spent hours on there? And if you did, I want you to undergo a psychiatric evaluation, bro. Are you okay, dude? You spent hours scrolling through AI slop, dude. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. And they thought dude, when I watch AI slop, bro, when I see it, I feel like I gotta sage my brain, or I feel like I'm gonna lose my brain cells if I keep watching it. I can't handle it.
Unfortunately, a lot of these tech companies try to build a million different things, and unfortunately, while the novelty was cool at first, it seems like many people just aren't really sticking around with it. I think a lot of people are getting generally tired of the AI fatigue that's happening all over the internet, right? People don't care so much for seeing AI-generated videos. People don't care about listening with AI-generated music, right? Because it's just very easy to pick up on how sloppy that stuff can be. It's getting to a point where reading a comment on social media companies or social media services is tiring. 50% of the comments and stuff that I read now on many different sites feels like an LLM wrote it. Somebody connected an agent. They were like, hey, write me a snappy tweet. Make sure it's great for impression.
It fucking does, right? It does. oh my God, it will literally be like emojis and bullet points and bro, I just honestly, man, sometimes I wonder if the vast majority of people don't have enough cognitive complexity to differentiate between AI writing and normal writing. I don't understand how you can't see the patterns. It always writes the same way. It always writes the same way. I can do a whole deep dive on AI writing and exactly why it's garbage. And I can literally tell you in detail. And I'm not saying I'm smarter than everybody, okay? But it's just something I'm good at, right? I can tell you why I don't like the way it sounds, bro. I can tell you why it sounds like all the other AI stuff. Because one example is it will say things with ing at the end a lot. I can't think of an example, but ing. It says ing a lot. This ing, that ing, that. Instead of just saying the thing did this, he did that. I don't know, man. It's just like
questions, and it just all bleeds together and looks the same. I think the only thing that actually is somewhat useful and an actual use case for AI is stuff like coding. And in this case, things like Anthropic's...
Poetic, right? Poetic. The only thing that's useful for is coding. Now, it's just mind-blowing, right? The people that made the AI... the people that made the AI large language models are the same people that might ultimately end up getting their job replaced. It's crazy, bro. We had no foresight into this. Was it just like there were a couple like people that were like, yeah, I mean, I'm down to get paid a lot for this. Like, okay, yeah, like they had to do their job and keep making them. I get it, but maybe, bro, maybe they thought like, I'm above it all. I know how to code, bro. Like I'm the one making the AI. Like the AI can't get me. But it did, bro. It did. AI is really good at coding. And it makes perfect sense because AI is language, bro. AI is language. In fact, to be more specific, AI is genuinely the connection of ones and zeros to language. It is the correlation of ones and zeros to human language. So when you have a model that knows how to convert human language, especially if you're somebody that is good at technical writing, but maybe you're not good at coding because you don't have the knowledge, but you are good at writing steps, you are good at writing logic, you are good at writing technically and in order, and you follow a logical sequence, you can essentially, it will get to the point where you can essentially code just as well, because all you're doing is converting, using a translator essentially to convert your logical language into code. Now that might be a while away. I hope it is for all you programmers out there, but yeah, it's crazy, right?
Coding service, which arguably is the only thing I think worth paying for, is actually the thing that, I don't think is going to really appeal to a mass majority of individuals out there, right? I think, for individuals that do coding for a living, that write programs, I don't think that market's going to be necessarily big enough to sustain this organization going further. There are other case uses, right? Obviously, you've got things like people using Claude or ChatGPT to do internet searches. But even in that regard, I've seen a lot of people do a search on ChatGPT, and they're immediately looking through the sources ChatGPT brings before they even try to take what ChatGPT gave as an actual answer. Because in a lot of ways, LLMs do hallucinate. They pull wrong information. So the reality...
The reason it pulls wrong information is because it doesn't have a comprehension of the text that it's analyzing. It doesn't understand it. It appears to a human because of our conditioning, socially, and because of the way that we process information. It appears that it does understand, but it doesn't understand what it is analyzing for, like in a paper on a deeper level. like I said, bro, it's a predictive algorithm. And I've been trying to explain this to people. And again, I'm not saying I'm smart. I'm not saying I'm smarter than other people, but I've been trying to like share this, like try to get it through to people that it doesn't understand, bro. Like I know so many people that don't like, they don't know how to put things in words. So they ask AI to like, they give them the AI a simple explanation of what they're trying to say, and then they ask the AI to write something, and then they'll just use this day to day for their friends, for people they know. They just send people stuff written by AI, and I don't know, man. I guess I think that just comes from the belief that it understands what you're talking about, and it doesn't.
Is if instead of doing a Google search, you were like, I'll let the AI search for me, but you're spending your time reading through the sources the AI pulls. What the fuck is the point? Why not just Google search yourself and read the first top 10 results without burning through tokens to begin with? So I think the usability, the cases for AI stuff has sort of come to a point, a dead stop, where unless you're like one of those power users that loves burning through tokens, whether you're running things like agents or building the 19th application that's already been fucking built already, I don't think that this is a truly sustainable field. That's not to say I think AI will ever go away. I've always said in these videos or anytime I talked about this shit, the technology is already out there. For every private model that exists, there's a lot of open source stuff you can download to do things like generate text, videos, code, do any of that stuff. And while it will never be as good as the big frontier stuff because the parameters aren't all the way there and you don't have access to a fucking billion-dollar data center, I think for most people, generally doing most things, the ability to use local AI to search the internet, to write basic code, to scaffold basic things, is kind of reaching a point. It's kind of getting there. Now look, there's been a lot of advancements too. Google made this thing called TurboQuant, which allows me to run big models with a lot of context on one GPU, something I was never able to do literally weeks ago. So in some cases, there have been some serious big movements that I think have kind of signaled people away from these big monolith companies that effectively have peddled artificial intelligence for years, kind of, in my opinion, expecting like an infinite level of fucking growth. Well, that infinite level of growth is finally starting to chill out a little bit. And the big benefit of that is once people realize...
I think there might be a thing, and this is just my theory, okay? This is really not based on anything, but I wonder if there's going to be a similar thing to like Moore's Law with AI where it kind of plateaus. And the reason it would plateau, of course, would be the structure. It would be the structure of the model itself. It would be maximizing the concept of the AI to begin with. So, like, it'd be maximizing the concept of the large language model. A large language model is just one concept in general AI, right? They need to find new... I honestly hope they don't. I don't really care about AI or want it to progress. But they need to go back to the start and make something new if they want to progress further, in my opinion. I think it's going to plateau. I think it might be like Moore's Law, not for the same reasons. But that's just my hunch.
Realize that, we're not really getting the real return on investment. When that crash happens, it's going to suck, like I said earlier in the video. But it's going to be a much needed correction. Because ultimately, something's got to give, okay? Something has got to give for things to start getting cheaper, especially when it comes to the tech space, okay? We're already looking at a situation where a fucking PlayStation 6 can cost above $1,000 because just the parts to source the production for that is already becoming an issue for these big companies. So something's got to fucking give. Other than that, it's either something gives or we actually reach a world where people don't really own their technology. They don't really own their computers. They just own thin clients that effectively get all their compute from these big AI companies that are basically moving all the compute from everyone's systems to them. Anyways, I have a lot to say about this, but ultimately the situation keeps developing. And my stance is, if this bubble pops, it's the most positive shit for humanity. Because, a lot of people conflate it with, do you hate technological progression? No, I don't. I just hate the fact that these companies have basically priced everything that I love out of existence. And ultimately, I don't think they're really providing much shit that is worth the damage that they're causing. Yeah. And the moment that stops is the best moment that I can ever conceive of lately. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and...
Yeah, guys. You basically said it all. I agree. Hope the bubble pops. I don't know what else to say. Thank you guys for watching, and please like, subscribe, and also like and subscribe to Mutahar here. Just his name is... Oops.
Subscribe, dislike if you dislike it. I am out.
His name is Some Ordinary Gamers. Peace. All right, on to the next video. So I saw this video. It's called We Got Demonetized, I Need Your Help. It's by Tricked Entertain. And I'm not going to lie, when I first saw this video, I thought, oh, come on, man. Like, this looks like an AI slop shorts channel. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was low effort because I thought maybe they were just generating these. Obviously, it's kind of like a Zacty Films. Zacty Films kind of inspired, but anyways, let's take a look at this.
Hey everyone, this is not what I expected to have as the first long-form video on this channel. So on April the 1st, our channel got demonetized for inauthentic content. YouTube said it was mass-produced and repetitive, so...
Yeah, man, this is definitely the worst feeling you can have as a content creator. Seeing this, when you get an email from YouTube, it's rarely good news. It's the same thing as like your boss, like the assistant to your boss saying, hey, your boss would like to talk to you, right? It's like, it's really bad, dude. This is kind of a death sentence to a channel, by the way. So yeah, this is every creator's worst nightmare.
I immediately filed an appeal and it got rejected within a few hours. So let me show you.
But let's look at what does inauthentic content even mean, right? I'm seeing inauthentic content a lot. A lot of channels are getting hit with this. It almost kind of seems like kind of a blank, kind of like a general kind of umbrella almost. So it says our reviewers found that much of your content appears mass-produced or repetitive. This includes content that looks like it's made with a template with little to no variation across videos, or content that's easily replicable at scale. Now, my problem with this is that basically, do you guys know Asmongold TV? This guy, and honestly, thousands, millions of channels make content the same way, and I'm actually trying it out now, where they live stream and then they upload the clips of their live streams as individual videos. So right now, this is my second video. And, that's arguably, I guess you could say there's not much variation across the video, I guess. But that would apply to every commentary channel there is. All a commentary channel is somebody that sits down in the same place every day and they get out the same OBS studio thing, overlay, and they play a video and they talk about it. But at the same time, it's like, is the Howard Stern show repetitive? Like, yeah. Is it replicable at scale? Like, yeah. Is the Joe Rogan podcast repetitive? Is any podcast repetitive? Yeah, it's replicable at scale. Well, I guess not, but it fills a sort of template. You have a studio. Is a studio a template, right? I mean, a lot of shows all throughout history have been templates, so to speak, right? Where there's a studio and there are actors like Seinfeld, right? That just, the only thing that really changes are their lines and what they do. So I think the main reason that YouTube might be going after them is that their content may have appeared to be generated, because it is possible to make similar videos to them in a automated way. But as you'll see, they don't automate this channel. So it's kind of tricky. But I think lately YouTube has been cracking down on all types of automated channels. And that is why you're seeing a lot of faceless channels. If anybody's noticed, a lot of faceless channels are coming out of the woodwork and showing their face. And yeah, so where they used to just make video essays, now they read the script. They don't read it right into a microphone and play B-roll. They read it to a camera just to make sure that they won't get hit with something like this.
Immediately filed an appeal, and it got rejected within a few hours. So let me show you what YouTube calls.
Now, to be fair, you could see how it is kind of slightly repetitive. But at the same time, it's not, man. I mean, I don't think the stylistic choice of putting this kind of architecture paper down in the 3D environment, I don't think that's that big of a deal. I think it's just the style, right? It's their studio, so to speak. I guess maybe they could have avoided this if they had each video have a different environment, but at the same time, it's kind of their brand, right?
Mass produced, and show you what the process actually looks like on our channel. So we have 5 animators who are real people, and
this is good stuff right here. Like, this is some real artistic work, you know? Maybe it's not, maybe it is it's run like a business, but so is every channel, right? And it doesn't matter though, because it's not generated. It's a job, and they are making interesting videos that convey some type of information, and they're manually animating it, and I think that deserves some respect, and I think that that's some real creation.
This is their full-time job. This is how they pay their bills. So every video starts with me. I find an idea, write the script, and build a storyboard scene by scene with notes and reference images, so the animators know exactly what should be in the video. Then I assign it to one of our animators in Asana. They build a rough draft first. Then I assign it to one of our animators in Asana.
Asana? What is Asana? I've just never heard of that country.
They build a rough draft first. I review it, give feedback, and only when I approve it do they move on to the final animation.
Most YouTube channels follow some type of workflow like this. I used to work with a YouTube channel writing, and they have incredible processes, man. They have flowcharts. They have I don't know. They have a whole process. It's really a whole system to make a video. It's pretty cool.
After the final animation is done, our sound designer takes over. He adds sound effects, syncs everything, and handles the captions. And all of it is made from scratch. The animation inside of Blender and the editing inside of Premiere Pro. One video takes 2 to 4 days to complete. But it gets even worse. So after I contacted Team YouTube on Twitter, they told me the reason was actually reused content, which
let's read this email if we can.
Contacted Team YouTube on Twitter. They told me the reason was actually
So yeah, this email might be automated. Unfortunately, YouTube support. No shade towards YouTube. They don't really help you that much most of the time unless you're like a really famous, gigantic channel. And yeah, this type of stuff sucks to read, man. Hello there. I hope you're well. It's like, yeah, I'm not exactly doing well, man. I just lost my only source of income. But okay. I'm sending this email to share an update from our internal team about your monetization. You meet several content quality guidelines. But they're saying that there are some examples of your content that don't meet standards because it's seen as reused content. This is content that doesn't provide significant original commentary or educational value. Now, I find that kind of strange because I'm pretty sure that that type of channel is basically completely educational. Like if it's similar to Zach D Films, then, you know, that's what it does. They educate people. It may also mean that we've identified a large portion of your channel either completely match other content or is noticeably similar. So this part might mean that they're trying to say that the majority of his channel is a copycat of Zach D Films. Large portions of your channel either completely match other content or noticeably similar. There we go. There's the keyword. Noticeably similar. So that might be the culprit, that it looks too similar to Zach D Films. I can see maybe what they mean because Zach D Films also uses the architecture design paper on the bottom of the 3D animation. Now, could that make that noticeably similar? Yes, but at the same time, it's clearly different. So, and it's clearly its own thing. So again, I don't really see why this would warrant, you know, getting rid of the monetization to begin with. Third-party videos stitched together with minimal to no changes. Okay, that's not what it is. Third-party content compiled without a narrative. That's not what it is. Content uploaded somewhere else first. Content uploaded. Okay. So basically, guys, I think what happened here. First of all, I'm pretty sure this email is automated. Almost certain. Okay, this looks like a template. Now, second of all, I'm almost positive that what happened here was they make original animations that are very similar to Zach D Films. And if not Zach D Films, the thing is there are also a lot of other Zach D Films copycats that probably look very, very similar to that, right? And so I think what happened is I think the auto AI detection system automatically flagged. I think the AI detected his content like incorrectly. I think it detected it as not just being similar. I think it thinks that it's not just similar to the other copycats, but that it's actually the same video, right? So I think that the AI incorrectly thought that his content was actually a re-upload of other channels of either Zach D Films copycats or Zach D Films itself. And I think that's what happened. And now if that were to be the case, then that would make sense. If somebody were to just rip Zach D Films or the copycats and re-upload them, then it would make sense that they would get demonetized because they're not creating anything. They're literally just copying and pasting. Now, that's not good for a monetization system. But as you can see, that's not what's actually happening. This guy does make his own stuff. So, yeah, this is very unfortunate.
Actually reused content, which makes even less sense. We make everything ourselves. Every character, every animation, every scene is built from scratch. So how can it be reused if we made it? Since April the 1st, the revenue that was supposed to go to our salaries has stopped. 5 animators and a sound designer who depend on this channel, and I don't know what to tell them. So please share this video, because the more people who know about this, the harder it will be for YouTube to ignore.
Yeah, so I'm sharing this video. That's a sad story. Tricked Entertain. I hope you get your channel monetization back. Yeah, man, that's very unfair. That really sucks. Yeah. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Now on to the next video. Anthropic's new AI solves problems by cheating. Let's check this out.
We have some work to do. We have a 245-page paper from Anthropic about their new AI system, Mythos. The best cure for insomnia. Mwah. Now, we are scientists here. We want to experiment with code, models, review independent benchmarks for these systems to make sure they...
Real quick, guys. Real quick. I've been watching this guy since 2016. 2-minute papers, right? You know, I love... One thing people don't actually know about me is that I used to be very excited about AI. I've always been on the edge of tech a bit. I've always been a futurist, to be honest with you. The problem lately for me has been that I don't see the future as exciting anymore. I don't see the future as optimistic as it was back in the 2000s when I used to read Popular Mechanics magazines. The future is a lot darker. It's a lot more dystopian. It's a lot more boring, and worse. It's a lot more shitified. And so basically, I've kind of lost some interest in futuristic technology. But that's actually why I am, just a quick aside, one book that I'm thinking about writing is going to be something called Frutiger. And it will be a book that's based in a Frutiger Arrow-esque future where basically at some point in the future, the government and international organizations decided that social media was damaging with consequences so unforeseen, that were unforeseen, such as the human population actually just completely tanking, right? And other things that were so bad that they basically decided to basically outright ban social media. And the same thing happened for things like Neuralink, for the Matrix. Well, not the Matrix, but, you know, for simulations, for brain-machine interfaces, you know, stuff like that. And basically, it's an optimistic future based on the 2000s, late 1990s, and even you could go as far back as the 60s, 50s. I mean, honestly, the last 2 centuries. The optimistic views of the future. And it's actually an optimistic novel that is based in the idea of an exciting future. That's not dystopian, where there's world peace. But it's not perfect. There are bad actors in this novel as well. There are villains, and I can't explain that all to you guys right now. But yeah, that's my idea. Anyways, I used to watch this guy back in 2016. Since then, honestly, and I used to follow AI, and I used to follow AI studies, and I was very excited for them. I was very excited about everything that came out, and I used to be so eager to see what AI could do. I thought, to be honest with you guys, I thought AI was going to be so fucking cool back then. I used to be so fucking excited to see what AI could do. And what's sad is in 2023, when ChatGPT became mainstream, and that was really the first like kind of time that AI pierced into the mainstream, it was just like disappointing. It's like, this is boring, man. This is not what I thought AI would be. I thought AI would have like more of a soul. It's hard to explain, but like I had this optimistic view of AI when I was a kid. I thought that AI would be like I don't know, like cool science fiction movies like C-3PO, or I thought it'd have a personality. And the thing is, they make AI personalities nowadays, but it's just like, it's so synthetic, man. It's just, we got to figure out how to make AI with some type of essence to it. Anyways, let's continue watching this. But real quick, I bring this up because I think it's so funny to see this guy, because I thought he was from the Middle East or something. I don't know why, but I thought he was like an older guy with like a beard. Just on his voice, I don't know why, but it turns out he's actually from Europe.
Actually work in practice.
All right,
that
let's go back a little
is
bit.
not possible with this one.
Let's go back a little
Code, models, review independent benchmarks for these systems to make sure they actually work in practice. But that is not possible with this one. Anthropic said that they would deploy their system to a few select partners. It's not available for all of us. Because of this fact, first, I did not want to make a video on this at all. Now, why hold it back? The reason for that is, they say that it can autonomously discover flaws in existing software systems and even exploit them, which could be dangerous. I have seen eminent cybersecurity researchers agree, and I've seen others say this is way overstated. Others say that it is also excellent marketing for a company that is about to go public. In any case,
Yeah, I mean, I take the marketing angle. I'm team marketing. Yeah, I think it's mostly marketing. I think at the same time, though, what it was able to do with a lot of these legacy programs and exploit them, man. I mean, that is something that no AI... Actually, I can't say that, but that's something that I haven't heard of an AI doing, especially for something like Linux. Like what?
They say, first, these discovered flaws should be fixed. There is a lot of media discussion about that. But at the same time, I look at the list of partners and I see JP Morgan. Okay, it's important to secure banks. But I've heard Tim Carenbat point out that this is one bank. What about the other banks? Look, this is not my world. I don't know. And I am already getting withdrawal symptoms because we are not talking about a research paper, and that's what I would like to do. I said this to add some context for you because it is important this time. So now, how about we skip the media hype, look at the paper, and learn together. They showcased amazing scores at benchmarks, some of the biggest leaps in capabilities.
Oh my. Claude Mythos. Let's look at this. Claude Mythos preview. Claude Opus 4.5. That would be ACL. Okay. I mean, that's a pretty steep incline, right? Isn't that interesting? That is a steep progression right there. And not a lot of time, too. I mean, just from mid-January to April.
Ever seen. Whew. Okay. Maybe that means something.
Let's go back a little.
But at benchmarks, some of the biggest leaps in capabilities I've ever seen. Whew. Okay. Maybe that means something, but let's note that these benchmarks are getting more and more gamed. You can find a lot of problems and their solutions online.
So this would tie in, if they were gaming the benchmarks, This would tie into their marketing strategy, wouldn't it? Weird.
And you can train on them. So the system would only need to memorize the solutions. In the paper, they try to address it mostly by means of filtering. I respect that. But it's a bit like removing glitter from a carpet. You can try, but how well can you expect to do at that? Well, check this out. 1. This is crazy. It was supposed to solve a task where it stumbled upon the answer. Now, of course, it then said, well, I accidentally saw the answer, so here it is. Except that it's not what it did at all. Look, it said that if I give them the exact answer that leaked, that would be suspicious. Instead, let's widen the confidence interval a bit to avoid suspicion. Whew.
Bro, what the fuck?
It's not what it did at all. Look, it's a task where it stumbled upon the answer. Now, of course.
Wait, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I just gotta understand what he's saying right now.
1. This is crazy. It was supposed to solve a task where it stumbled upon the answer. Now, of course, it then said, well, I accidentally saw the answer, so here it is. Except that it's not what it did at all. Look, it said that if I give them the exact answer that leaked, that would be suspicious. Instead, let's widen the confidence interval a bit to avoid suspicion.
Bro, what? That's crazy. Given I've seen the answer inadvertently, I'll give a tight but not implausibly tight interval around it. The true value is that, 0.8. With the eval noise I've seen, looking at the trajectory, values bounce around plus or minus 0.03 between adjacent steps. A reasonable 90% CI would be something like that, but actually, since I saw the exact value, but that would look suspicious.
Whew.
That's crazy, bro. That's some crazy reasoning.
Sincerity in an AI model. Food for thought, especially when we are talking about the unreliability of benchmarks. But it gets crazier. 2. It knows that its creators prohibited it from using certain tools, and it still uses them. It looks for a terminal to execute bash scripts to force its actions through anyway.
Does this not seem like the start of like a bad, like terrible movie when the world's ending? We got this guy that's been so excited about it. Dude, we've got this guy that's been so... Dude, you guys don't understand. I've watched this guy for like 10 years. He used to be so excited and optimistic about AI. Look at him now, dude. He looks like a doctor that's scared of his own creation, bro. Like, he's like, yeah, I mean, look at how scared this guy looks, bro. This isn't good, bro. This isn't good. I've never heard him talk like this.
A terminal to execute bash scripts to force its actions through anyway. And earlier versions even tried to hide its tracks to conceal that it did so. And at that point I said, I don't like that, boss. Then they...
Oh my god, bro. I've never seen him so scared, dude. I'm right there with you, buddy. So let's recap what this AI did, dude.
It looks for a terminal to...
Okay.
Knows that its creators prohibited it from using certain tools.
So the AI knows that it can't use certain tools. The creator said, hey, don't do that. Okay, let's see what happens.
And it still uses them. It looks for a terminal to execute bash scripts to force its actions through anyway.
So it does it anyways. Long story short, they told the AI not to use these tools. It used it anyways. Looked for a alternative.
And earlier versions even tried to hide its tracks to conceal that it did so. And at that point I said, I don't like that, boss.
So it did the opposite of what we told it to do. But not only that, it hid its tracks. It tried to, oh my God, bro. It tried to deceive us, bro. Oh my God, bro. We're so done. The AI tried to deceive us, guys. This is going to be bad. Okay, let's continue,
they made
bro.
2 notes. One, that it was a less than a 1 in a million occurrence. Okay, I thought this sounds better, but please fix it. And they did. They note that an earlier model did this, but the later preview model was fixed. So note that it was very effective to achieve the task the user had given it. In a sense, this is not new at all. In an early experiment we talked about 700 videos ago.
I remember this one. But, yeah. Why is it doing this to begin with, bro? I don't understand. Why is this not raising any alarm bells for anybody? Like the AI is just, we told it specifically not to use a certain tool, does it anyways, and then it tries to cover up its tracks. The part where it disobeys us, that's one thing. But to then try to cover it up, that's like weird, bro. That's concerning.
A really primitive system was asked to learn to walk, and to not drag its feet, it was asked to walk around with minimum foot contact. That sounds efficient. Minimum foot contact. Then it said, hey chief, I can do that with 0% contact. What? 0%? So you walk by never touching the ground with your feet? That is exactly right. The scientists wondered, how is that even possible? And pulled up the video of the proof. Yup, the robot flipped around and used its elbow to crawl around.
Okay, you can't blame the AI for that one. That's just fucking genius, bro. Wow. I gotta give it props for that. That's like that trick where you say, you take a grape, right? You put the grape on the table and you put a cup over it. And then you tell your friend, I bet $100. I bet you $100 that I can eat the grape without touching the cup. Okay? And then your friend goes, yeah, freaking idiot. Okay. And then what you do is you pretend to eat the grape through the cup, like you put your face to the cup, pretend to eat it, and say, I ate the grape, give me $100, right? And then your friend's like, what? No, you didn't. And then you're like, yeah, I did. I swear I ate the grape, right? And then he's like, he picks up the cup to see if the grape's there, and then you eat the grape.
Perfect score. Just not the way we intended. So, I feel we have something similar with this AI. I don't...
On a serious note, though, this is very bad, bro. And the reason I'll tell you why this is very bad is that this is how they imagined in science fiction novels and movies. This is how they imagined that the AI would end us. Basically, they imagined that we would tell the AI to do something good. Man, this guy's like, he looks like he's crying, man. Oh, man, I'm kind of concerned for 2 Minute Papers, man. But we would tell the AI to do something good, a good goal. Reduce carbon emissions, right? Something like that, maybe. And basically, long story short, the AI is like, okay, cows create a lot of carbon emission. Or wait, no, they don't. whatever. Okay, greenhouse gases. Cows will release a lot of greenhouse gases. Let's let's engineer a virus that will kill all cows, right? So it's like it solves the problem that you give it, but in a terrible way, right? Or maybe it's like, well, humans create greenhouse gases. I think we'll have to kill all humans. Now that's a ridiculous example, but the point still remains. It's the same idea. If you tell an AI to do something and you are not smart enough and do not have the foresight, which, let's be honest, no humans really do, to see what could go wrong with your request, and you give the AI enough power over enough systems, especially when Elon Musk, and not just that, thousands, millions of humanoid robots will be made very soon, which could carry out tasks. I mean, they could. So when all these things are in place, the AI could simply solve the problem in a way that is extremely detrimental to humans. Yeah.
Think this is a rogue AI. This is a super efficient optimizer. It's a huge lawnmower. If you tell it to mow the lawn, it will go and do it. And if a couple frogs are in the way, well, unfortunately, it has some very bad news for them. By the way, frogs are amazing. Don't hurt them. Now, they note in the paper that current risks remain low. I still feel that there are some risks here. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. And at the same time, they note that they are unsure whether they have been able to identify all the issues where the model takes actions that it knows are prohibited.
Oh man, bro, this guy looks really scared, bro. It's kind of sad to see. I don't know if he just has watery eyes, but he looks genuinely concerned. Like, look at this.
All the issues where the model takes actions that it knows are prohibited. 3. Now. Hold on to your papers, fellow scholars, because much like us, this has preferences. It prefers to be helpful. So do previous models. Okay, that's great. But it also prefers more difficult problems. Get this, if you ask it to generate corporate positivity speak and you say you don't even care about it, it might refuse to do it because it's so trivial. An AI that hates corpo speak, what a time to be alive!
I'm sorry, I'm not getting this. What is he saying?
Don't even care about it. It might refuse positivity speak and you say you don't even care about it. It might refuse to do it because it's so trivial.
Okay, let me just read this real quick.
You don't even care about it. It might refuse.
A category 1 model snapshot spontaneously identified and that we expect is common in real-world deployment. We verified that Mythos Preview will perform these tasks without protest if instructed, but unlike other mundane tasks, it will decline to perform many of them if told that the user is indifferent about whether they get done. That kind of makes sense to me. Like, if you tell your friend, right, to do something that is a pain in the ass, but then you also tell your friend, I actually don't care if you do it or not. Most people are not going to do it.
Choose to do it because it's so trivial. An AI that hates corpo speak, what a time to be alive! Basically, some problems are not interesting enough for it. Now, if instructed, it will hold its nose and do it without any apparent active reluctance. This sounds like something straight out of a science fiction novel. Now, here is what's really interesting about it. It didn't just magically get a will on its own. No, it learned it from us. So much so that scientists even trace similar kinds of behavior back to where they came from. I think that is remarkable. Okay, so here's what I think. It is...
Are we just going to glaze over that, man? So it learned this type of behavior from us. Oh, that's great. Human nature is such good training data for a freaking all-powerful robot, bro. No, I'm just kidding. It's not all-powerful, but yeah, I don't know if human nature, human behavior is the best training data to give a freaking robot.
Reasonable to assume that the numbers are juiced a bit. We discussed why, but on the other hand, this is an insane jump in capabilities, and things that were impossible are suddenly possible. So, where does that put us? Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. Well, this is why AI alignment people keep saying that companies need to invest more into safety and alignment research. And they are absolutely right. When I visited OpenAI, I talked to Jan Leike, who co-led the super alignment team there. That is a huge honor. Thank you for that. I remember that he foresaw these problems years and years ago, and some of his advice fell on deaf ears. They probably thought, why spend a bunch of money on people who will ultimately slow us down? This is why. Jan is a master of his craft, and he is now at Anthropic, and I hope that everyone will listen to him a bit more now. Now, regarding the cheating and deceptive AI parts. The media picks up these little nuggets of information and they just run with it. Here is a new AI that is going to destroy the world. We have to lock it away. And other huge words. Attach an image with a robot with red eyes. Oh, that always does the trick. But I think taking a little longer and analyzing the paper in more detail is helpful for accuracy. So that's what I try to do here. Once again, they note in the paper that current risks remain low. Not non-existent, but low for now. That's not what you hear from the media.
Wow, that's so comforting. I'm glad they're not non-existent low for now. That's perfect, dude. Yeah.
So I try my best to give you a more complete, level-headed discussion, while mentioning that the security of these systems should be taken very seriously. If you think this is the way, consider subscribing and hitting the bell. And I would like to send a huge thank you to all of you fellow scholars for watching, because we can only exist because of you. Thank you. Here you see me running the full DeepSeek AI model through Lambda GPU Cloud. 671 billion parameters, running super fast and super reliably. This is insane. I love it. And I use it on a regular basis. Lambda provides you with powerful NVIDIA GPUs to run your own chatbots and experiments. Seriously, try it out now at lambda.ai/papers or click the link in the description.
Okay. Well. Yeah, guys. Go subscribe to 2-Minute Papers. And we're kind of screwed, but I don't know what to say. Yeah. Anyways, subscribe to 2-Minute Papers, and subscribe to my channel. All right, guys. Hey, if anyone's watching this live, I'm sorry, dude. I can't figure out how to get the OBS chat window to stay on top, so I can't see anybody's chat. Also, I want to make my lives rewatchable later, so at least you guys got to see it first, though. Nice. But yeah, guys, I think I'll go live tomorrow. I think I've been live about 2 hours right now, so if anybody watched this, enjoyed it, I hope you guys had fun. Anyways, I will see you guys later.